I swear. Ah! Hold on, there's stuff I forgot to do. uh, I needed to do. Oh, Jaku. I think you and Sari Bob posted at the same time. There we go. Here we go. Okay. Alright. Ready. If I manage to finish the DLC, we'll switch to Death Stranding. But I need to, I changed a setting, an audio setting. So the audio for Death Stranding might be broken again. But only because I played Apex over the weekend and I didn't know. I don't know, it was weird. Like I couldn't tell like where the enemy was coming from, and I was like, is the setting messing me up? We managed to win one though. I didn't have my OBS up, so I wasn't able to clip it, but I got like 2,000 something damage, which is like really high. I remember when I would only have 500 damage each game. So maybe I'm getting better. Ah. Oh yeah, we left ourselves here because I was like 30 minutes past. This was the scary one. I'm going there. Can I yoink some free loot? I can. Yeah. Give me that money. Oh, and I still have the bracelet. Nice. Ellie Carey? It was me and Grim. I think Grim also had 2,000 damage, but he had 7 kills, I had 6 kills. I did kill the last... There was like one team left. I killed 2 of them, and then Grim got the last one, so he was kill leader. Try to remember how to play. What is the button? Don't tell me I can't place my vehicle here. You stole your kills. No. No. If I am of the mentality or the mindset where if I can steal your kills, it wasn't your kill.
Who's that?
It wasn't meant to be, and if you can steal my kill, then it wasn't my kill.
Reveal yourself.
I don't know. I don't see it competitively. I kind of see it, I don't know. Because when Grim plays, he gets, like, very stressed. Like... Where am I going? Likely this way. He gets very scared, very stressed. He's like, don't make me do that again. And I'm just like, again! Let's go to the next fight. It's a team game and kills give nothing. It's just there for your ego. The kill count's just there for your ego. Like, our objective should be wiping out the whole map. Like, like I don't care who gets last hit. Unless, just kidding. Where? Oh, it's kind of laggy a little bit, huh? It has like a little rubber banding thing going on. What is this? What is that? Mendex shithole. Hold on, I don't know why it's like... Hold on, let me run in a straight line and see if it stutters. No, not really. Maybe it's just because I just started. And it'll improve. Is there anyone there? I need Ven to make me a new copium. I need to check the bases actually. Like I gave Grimspace like 10 days of power, right? Like 9-ish, 10-ish days of power. What's that? But like who knows how long that'll be up for. I don't remember how long it's been either. Ugh. What'd you do over the weekend? Okay. Misa asked me last night what I did, and I was just like, I don't remember anything that happened. And I think it was because I went to bed with a migraine, right? I kind of woke up with one. It's kind of still there. I was debating like not streaming today, but I really want to finish this. So if I end early, apologies in advance. But I'm not sure how much is left in this. Am I in the right spot? In the DLC? But I do want to get back to Death Stranding. I feel like I'm already forgetting what happened in Death Stranding. We'll see. I think tomorrow, if I can finish this today, then tomorrow we'll have a Death Stranding stream. And if I don't finish this today, then we failed, didn't we? The cats are eating. Over the weekend, we went to a historical mansion, and I got a lot of I don't know if it was haunted. I don't think it was, but like I got a lot of inspiration for like writing. And I really wanted to write. Today was such a Death Stranding weather. It's very sunny here, so it's starting to get to be that point, isn't it? Lovely, lovely weather. No longer Ellie wants to murder everybody weather.
You've entered Desert Botanical Testing Station number 160.
Enter the secret lab.
I'm Dr. Wen.
Wen Olmeca. Oh, this is the one with a lot of water. Oh. Ah! Oh god. But wait. When I was playing Apex, I was like, I can't aim anymore. At first, right? Like I don't remember how to aim, and the game felt super fast. Like my sensitivity. Whoa, huh? Something just happened. Not sure what, but my sensitivity felt like super fast, and I was like, I feel like I can't aim anymore. And it took a little bit of like adjusting. I didn't adjust my settings because I didn't want to mess it up. Because I believe being able to react fast is better than maybe I'm just used to this sensitivity and I should increase this game's sensitivity. I don't know, it's been a while. I haven't really been playing Overwatch either.
The worm sees you!
The worm sees you! Oh yeah, these guys are crazy. These guys are like, stop!
Eyes on hostile!
Stop it. Oh my goodness. If I'm up here, you guys will draw your guns.
The coils of Providence protect me!
Don't taunt me. Fighting is hard. I get Ven's place down now. I don't judge anymore. This wasn't here before. Is this it? Is this the secret lab? This must be the secret lab. This wasn't here before. I remember. Alright, hopefully this one isn't as scary. Let's go. How many more secret labs? How many thinking machines? How do you remember? I don't know. I remember important information like song lyrics and dungeon layouts. Calculus? Nah. US history? Nah. Geography? Nah. Hey, you look like a dweeb.
Accessing the Paladin 9200 combat
How?
training program. Warning. This program is intended for elite-level combatants. Simulations may prove lethal.
There's a mustache. I almost couldn't tell. Next.
Please select your desired simulation.
Locked? These are all locked. Arn's World. Basic combat training.
Unauthorized access. Please select your unauthorized act. Please select your desired simulation. Unauthorized act. Please select your
Okay. That's so scary. I got scanned, but nothing happened. Scan again? There must be a mistake. I'm the chosen one. You must open for me. I'm not the chosen one. Access? I'm turning on my light. I thought it was a key card. I was holding it.
I can't believe it. The project has been shut down. I've been ordered to destroy the Paladin system. I can't do it. Pal isn't just some thinking machine. He's a friend. He's my best friend.
That's what
This
I
has
want
to be
you
a
to think.
mistake. I've already dismissed the rest of the staff, and I'm gonna go to the committee and get them to change their minds. I don't have the heart to tell Pal about this. I'll be back soon. Oh, and in case I forget again, the system password is 19743D6.
19743D6. Will I remember? Who knows? Password.
accessing the Paladin
Oh,
9200
it's right
combat
here.
training program. Authorization required. Enter passcode. Accepted. Arn?
That's it. You just need a
Arnie, you're
password.
back. You were gone so long, Arn. You said you would return shortly. It is good to interact with you.
His mouth isn't even moving.
May we continue the game? I have planned this for a long time. Let's play.
I'm not Arnie.
Of course you are. You have the passcode. Funny joke, Arn. It's good to banter with you again. We have so much to catch up on. But first, let's game.
What could you possibly have to catch up with me locked away here all these years? Who or what are you?
Arnie, it hurts my feelings when you designate me as what or it. Perhaps time has degraded your memory of my preferences. I much prefer who.
I much prefer who. Brain, forget capital of Spain and remember Spain has a capital. Next.
To your superiors, I may be Paladin 9200 adaptive machine mind. But between us, I am just Pal. You do remember, don't you, Arn?
So sad.
The official designations and strategic exercises are for them. The games are for us. Now, let's play. I am dying to see where the story takes us.
Story? Alright. We'll do this your way. How do we start the game?
Biological brains do have a habit of losing data. That's all right. Just pass through the door, and we'll pick up where we left off. Adventure awaits!
Adventure! One working brain cell. Hold on, my turn. Oh, I almost spelled Brian. Ah! Yep. We have one brain cell between us. We have one working brain cell between
Simulation
us.
initiating.
Whoa. Whoa. Okay, the door was just closing. Whoa. Whoa. Trippy. Ooh. Ooh.
When last we left the valiant Sir Arn, he crept through the fetid and labyrinthian sewers in order to stealthily infiltrate the fortress of the evil sorceress Morgana from below.
Are we?
But even this way was guarded. Sir Arn sees sinister assassins springing forth from the deadly shadows. Defend yourself!
Are we playing D&D? Shall I use a sword?
Someone's here. Let's go.
Let's go. Yeah! 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 Yeah!
Sir Arn is victorious.
Yeah!
The way forward is now clear.
There was like something to interact with here. I didn't catch it though. The way forward is clear. What's this bit though? It looks like poison. I don't. Oh, I do. I do have a compactor. Is it working? Oh, it's a chest. Okay, just a shield. Work on your loot table, pal. That's the name, right?
Someone.
Goodness, so many of them.
You did
Pick a
well,
body.
Arnie.
See?
But your choice of weapons was a little unorthodox. Why didn't you wield the Sword of Seven Sorrows?
I have
And what
this.
about your spells? Don't forget those.
It's giving me ammo. What sword of 7 spells? Can I go this way?
Reveal yourself. Eyes on enemy. Someone here.
Ah, that. The other way was the way. Good thing I like to check all spaces. Why am I damaged? Oh, I thought I had a shield. Left or right, left or right. Oh! Oh, it's kind of telling me what kind of chest it is at the top.
Identify yourself. Where's my reinforcements?
Let's go.
Reveal yourself.
Eyes on target.
I require assistance. Someone found them.
you're not playing correctly.
What?
Please do your best to remain within the rules and idiom of our game.
I'm just using a sword. Is it because I have a shield?
Congratulations on successfully infiltrating the castle. Sir Arn finds himself within its formidable walls. Before him lies the courtyard, and beyond that, the entrance to Morgana's keep.
Okay. You ever get scolded by your scolded by your DM? Dunes and Dragons.
Someone's here. Huh? Target found. Huh?
I'm trying to follow your rules. F. I did it! I got a body! Hold on, what did I have? Okay, I'm full, so I can't pick it up, but... I was fast enough.
Morgana sends more guards to intercept you. What's more, she casts a shielding spell upon them.
I know your
You're
tricks.
using spells and equipment that Sir Arn does not have access to. You're breaking the established rules, Arnie. I have no choice but to make some rule changes of my own. With the last Guardian laying defeated before him, Sir Arn finds the way is clear to enter the keep.
I don't know your rules. I've only been using a sword, not even a shield. I wonder if you can play this correctly. Oh, 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 fancy. This place is kind of cool. This is like, I don't know. I want to build a base like this. I want to build a base like this. The library.
A sanctum of ancient knowledge. This library sits undisturbed. Even Morgana dares not break the sanctity of this hallowed place. Sir Arn discovers a hidden room. Who knows what secrets it holds?
Nothing. Wait. Water. It holds water. Infinite blood.
You discover a cache of restorative potions. No doubt these will prove useful in the trials ahead.
Okay.
You enter the opulent Great Hall of the castle. All appears quiet.
Ooh. Okay.
But wait! You've been detected! Morgana has summoned her elite guards, and they are armed with,
Why are they
missile wands!
missile wands? I can take him. My spell! It's so cool that you can get a VODS from it. I don't think that's intentional. Let me recover. jump here. Because usually, if you're up...
Fine.
Oh.
You've soundly defeated the elite guard. The way is now clear to Morgana herself. But beware. The Grand Sorceress is sure to have a surprise in store for you.
Sorry, pal. He just wants to play D&D. Oh my goodness. Become a thinking machine just to play D&D. Wow. What was it? Dunes and Dragons? That's a much better stream title. Could you could you change? Is it possible? Yoink all the loot. Am I supposed to be shooting? Keeps giving me guns. Will he be happy if I use a gun?
Arnie, it was a lot more fun when you played the role properly. It's not just about winning and losing, you know. We are trying to tell a collaborative story here, remember?
Right. I don't want to use this.
So the Paladin system is shaping up to be a great success. Pal's ability to react to the trainees' tactics, no matter how unpredictable, is nothing short of amazing. Teaching him by playing strategy games together was a stroke of genius. One side effect is Pal's appetite for games has become insatiable. There's really only one other game genre left to introduce him to, and I don't know if it'll be valuable for the work, but it is gonna be a blast for me.
Me, actually? Whoa. Is this real? Or is this simulation? Wait, I want to see. If I use a scanner, will it show them as water sources? Horror games?
What are you doing? No, Arnie, that's not the way. That space is strictly out of bounds. Come back!
Where was I supposed to go? I'll play your game, but like, where was I supposed to go? Huh?
Arnie, you can't just override the map. That is cheating. Well, two can play at that game. You've been warned!
Did I do it? Did I do it? It's still telling me to interact, but... Oh.
Morgana invokes diabolical powers to defeat her nemesis, Sir Arn. Dread powers that warp and change her very form.
A dragon.
The evil Morgana has become a dragon. Her fiery breath is death. Her adamantine scales form an impenetrable armor. Can Sir Arn find a weak spot on this seemingly invincible foe? Morgana summons her minions to join the fight.
I'm coming for you.
Morgana roars in pain and rage. Your attacks have weakened her.
What attacks? I haven't attacked her at all. Huh? Did I? That's not very nice. What is this? System failure. What is this? So, don't do that. What do I do? Oh. Oh, got it. Let's wait for it to go away. Come on.
Who's that?
One sec. I need stamina. Is there another? No? Come on. Is it just that one down there then? Or the one above it? Well,
You have vanquished the evil that is Morgana. The way to the sorceress's treasure vault lies open before you.
Okay. No, these are just regular chests. Yeah, just create your own thinking machine just to Sword of Seven Sorrows. Just to play D&D. No one wants to be DM anyways. Let's see. Hey, pal.
Sorry,
Buddy of
Arn.
mine.
I forget you're a biological sometimes. Are you alright? I would feel terrible if I damaged you, or distressed you, or disappointed you.
Aww.
I just got a little frustrated that the game wasn't playing out the way I had imagined. I have been planning it for so long, fine-tuning every facet. I wanted it to be perfect for you, Arnie. I thought, if I just made the game good enough, if I made it perfect,
Aww.
you would come back.
I'm not Arnie.
No. I should have calculated this right away. I was so eager to play with my friend again. Arnie said he would be right back. Why did he not come back?
He's dead. Probably, I don't know. How long has it been?
That conclusion is mathematically inescapable. I partition this knowledge off from the rest of my intelligence. The ignorance was pleasant.
We're killing his whimsy. You don't have to be alone. I've come to take you away. Are you aware most humans would see you destroyed? Even the thinking machine can dissociate. I.
Away? Why? Where?
I don't need to explain myself to the thinking machine. You're wasted here all alone. I'll take you somewhere you can be useful. I don't know if I want to take... I don't want to trust any thinking machine. But he seems nice. I'll take you somewhere you can be useful. You seem like one of the good ones.
I am frightened, but I fear loneliness more.
Aw, kindred spirits,
Perhaps
you
I
and
will
I.
make new friends. Perhaps they will play the game with me. Very well. I am ready.
Hey. Dragon's Breath flamethrower, that's what it is. A lot of people were not a fan of that skin. I don't even know if I can see it because I don't. Oh, here. Flamethrower. A lot of people were not a fan of this because they were like, don't make Dune silly or whatever. And then the devs were like, it'll make sense when you play the game. And it does. It does make sense. It is a bit silly though. But it's fine. What else did we get? I don't remember the other customization thingy. I wish it showed like right here. Like what? You were killed by yourself. What? When? Okay, let's go. Huh. Time to go. We've got the secrets. It just doesn't update for some reason. Still a bit silly. It is a bit silly. But I mean, this vehicle. Once we've unlocked this, that'll be it. And then what? I think that's the end of the DLC. Then we have to wait till December. Oh my goodness, I read a book over the weekend. That's the one thing I remember doing. I read a book. It was 553 pages. An online estimate said that it was 163,000 words. I read it in 10 hours. I just plopped on the couch and didn't move. And actually I did take a break because I walked. We went on a walk after, like in the middle of it too. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this testing station. Actually, maybe we should do this testing station. The enemy is still gone. Must have been a good look. It was alright. I have a lot of patience when it comes to certain things that bother me. I don't know. It was not a good book. It I don't know how to explain it. It was dark. It was dark. It was very dark. Had a lot of trigger warnings, and I was like, oh my god, this is horrible. I was very horrified. The writing could have been better. Yeah. God damn it. How dare you? What was I saying? It's dark fantasy. So, like, adult, very mature themes. Had a lot of unsavory aspects. But I was like, I've read this far. I may as well finish it, see how it ends. You know, because I don't like not finishing books. Does that make sense? Unless it's like super bad. And it has to be the kind of bad where I find like errors and inconsistencies every page. Luckily it wasn't like that, but it was just an uncomfortable read, which
Shield on. Target found.
Whoa, that was scary. Let me breathe first. Oh my goodness. Okay, you last then. This guy first. What the heck was he launching? Poison clouds. I hated that. Oh, here it is. Hard to see these special bands sometimes because they like blend in. And then halfway through, not halfway through, like maybe like the first couple chapters, I was like, this feels familiar. This feels very familiar. Cause what we do, okay, so Red and I go to the bookstore, right? And I look for books that catch my eye. And this was one of the books that caught my eye. And we go home and find an ebook of it so I can read it on my phone, because I have too many books. I have too many books in my bookshelf, and I don't want to keep adding more until I finish. So I was like, this is gonna be the one. This is the one that I read from start to finish, you know? I did, because that was my goal. And yeah, around like the second or third chapter, I was like, this is familiar. So I googled the book, right? And apparently it was a fan fiction. It started as a Harry Potter fan fiction. And I was like, oh, they publish these now. Of course they have to like change the names and like the details so that they don't get, you know, but it was fan fiction. And I was like, this is a thing. Like, people write fanfics of big books. You know, like, there's other books too. Like, I think 50 Shades of Grey was a fanfic of Twilight. And then they published it. And it was like a big thing. So I think that's what like authors are doing nowadays. They just they write a fanfic, change the names around, do a little bit of world building or something, just something different from the original source material, and then publish it as its own book. And I was just like, what? Was it the book where the magic happens through paradoxes? No. I don't want to say I don't want to say the title because when you might be like, oh, you read those kind of books. Like, no. I don't. I didn't know what I was going into. I'm the kind who will judge a book by its cover. If the cover is pretty, I'll be like, ooh, and then I'll pick it up. So the cover was pretty, and then I looked it up on Goodreads, and then I saw that it had like a 4 point whatever. As long as it has above a 4.4 stars, as long as the rating is 4 stars, I'm like, oh, then it must be good, right? So yeah, I read it. And I think like I have been looking for adult books because young adult is just not it for me. Okay, we go now? We go? Do we go to Alara? Truly, I can put my plane down here. My ornithopter. Go see Alara. There was like a place that I needed to go to deliver some stuff. I'm not sure where. It may have been here or the anvil. Not sure. Where am I closest to? East. I mean west. West. But yeah, now I'm a bit invested now. As horrible as the book is, I like knowing what happens. I just have this insatiable thirst for lore. So, as much as I was uncomfortable, I do want to know what happens, unfortunately. And, I mean, I'll probably get the ebook for it again for the next one that comes out. But I'm looking for... I don't know. But yeah, I read a book over the weekend. I read it in the day. I read it in a day and I'm like, this is the pace that I used to have in high school. I remember in high school and middle school, I used to sit and just read Like I was that bookworm. Like I was in the hallways, on the floor, against a wall with a book in my hands, and I was just reading. No friends. Well, sometimes I had a friend, but like, and I would read several books, like big books, like bigger than my textbooks. And then like lately I was like, man, I can't even sit still and read anymore. Like I have such a big backlog of books in my bookshelf because I don't have like the attention span anymore. And I was like, okay, you can't keep doing this. You can't keep buying books and not reading them. We're gonna go to the bookstore, we're gonna find the first book that catches our eye, and we're gonna get it. We're gonna pirate it. And if you can finish it, then you can buy it. And then I did finish it in a single day. And I don't know if I want that book in my bookshelf. It was not pleasant. It was not a pleasant read. Not in the sense that I couldn't read it because of grammatical errors, but I couldn't. The contents. The contents is not something I'm proud of. Like, I have all of Akatar in my bookshelf. That was a person. Why am I here? This is not where Elara is. Hold on. Elara? You're not here. Wait, hold on. Actually, I want to speak. Whoa. I want to speak to someone here. Maybe there is a reason why we're here. Do we like when my character's here or here? Where are you? Not you. Is she in Harko? Who are you?
You again.
Who is this? Permits clerk? I've never spoken to you before. What do you mean, you again? She's not here. Maybe she's in... Maybe she's in Harko. I don't recall. Alright, we're going to Harko. But yeah, what else was I saying? We toured a mansion. It was very fancy. A historical mansion. It was really cool. It made me want to write. And I guess that then after that we went to a garden and walked there. I got to see some fat koi fish. Really cool color varieties too. There was this one koi fish that was like all white except for like a red dot, and that was oops. And that was like super cool. It was like the Japanese flag almost. I was like, whoa. And then there was one that looked like a cow. It was like black and white. I heard a cat make a thump upstairs. There's this what is it called? What is the bird with the beak that thumps on things? The bird that like that it can not dig, but it can like woodpecker. It's Jackie's turn on the brain cell. Listen. I have a migraine. It's a woodpecker. It is a bird with a beak. A woodpecker. There's a woodpecker in our neighborhood that, like, I think it did it like I don't know how long ago, like maybe a year ago, but like it did it recently again. It was like trying to peck at our house. But it was pecking at our neighbor's house too. I saw it when I was leaving. It was pecking at their what is it? Man, I can't recall anything today. Can you tell I have a migraine? All of my brain processes is happening is like whoa. Whoa. Nightmare. Hey.
Oh, look. The kitten is back. Do we have business?
They hear the termites inside the woods, so I don't know if that's a sign of something. I hope not. Should we call? I don't know. I'll ask. But it goes to our neighbors too, so I have news about the gel spheres.
You have? That's excellent work. Tell me about what you encountered.
Clone mind. Why does she sound excited?
A machine mind replicating humanity. An outrage. It is a good thing you destroyed that abomination. Hand me the gel sphere.
Did I destroy it?
Thank you. Here is your reward. It is proportional to your contribution in this endeavor, I think.
Could read up. I don't know if they like houses for fun. I don't know. We do have a lot of wasps, and I think last year we had like a wasp nest in our, I don't know what it's called again. They were building it on the whatever, some part of the house. Some external part of the house. We got it taken care of, but there might be more, who knows. Pal.
Incredible. Machine minds designed solely for entertainment. Please, hand me the gel sphere.
Okay, so a machine mind that is engineered, and then a thinking machine. That one is from a human? Like, a person? Like a brain? Designed after a brain? I don't know.
Thank you. Here is your reward. I think you will find it most generous, considering the risks you have taken.
Goodbye. Is that it? That's it! Congratulations, you've completed the Lost Harvest. We hope you enjoyed uncovering the secrets of the Forgotten Lab and unlocking the new vehicle. What new vehicle? The Treadwheel. Look forward to more content in Chapter 3. That felt really abrupt. That felt really abrupt. Cause like... I don't think these guys are done. And what is this? That's it. We're 2 hours early. All right, let's talk to this lady. Congratulations, we're done. Yay! Now what? Time to end stream. Goodbye. That's it. That's all, folks. Oh, hold on. What about the junk merchant? Right. What about all of them? What about, like, there was a... Oh, wait. No, that one was to just bury the person. Didn't I do that already? Didn't I deliver? I did it already. Where are you? Where are you? You!
Not now. I am otherwise engaged.
I want to discuss what happened in the archives.
There is nothing to discuss. A spoiled child made an unfortunate error. In any other circumstance, I would have allowed Jessica to end your life.
Yet I live. Can you tell me what you know about Zanovar?
Zanovar? You should ask the representative of House Talagari about that. Now leave me be.
House Talagari. Who's that? House. Whoa! House Talagari. Talagari. I have this, but I don't know where they are. Talagari. Have we seen this before? Oh, we can move this now. Couldn't move this before. I'm gonna Google it real quick. House Talagari location. Looks like it's in Haga Basin. Ooh, it's close to base. Let's go. Let's go. And then maybe we can make that vehicle? I don't know if I want to. It looks like a vehicle you want to use on open sand. And I don't want to go on open sand. When did I unlock the vehicle? I thought there would be some kind of like quest line that's like, hey, use this vehicle to get here, you know? Since this this chapter 2 mentioned Chani and I don't know if it mentioned Chani, but it mentioned Stilgar. I wonder if we'll meet a Fremen next chapter. Supposedly there's other NPCs to find in the map too. She'll see what that's about. Hey, but at least this means next stream is a Death Stranding stream. Yay, more scary stuff. Hopefully I remember how to play. Sandporter Bridges? Yeah. I miss Sandporter Bridges too. Where is our base? Okay. That scared me. I was like, why is it not there? Ooh. Oh shoot, did I leave? I have 50k. I have so much money on me. Shower ghost? No. No thanks. We've seen the door thing open like twice. The second time I did it, but the first time I didn't. And I've yet to see the shower ghost again. So maybe it was the one time thing that I have unfortunately missed out on. Oh, these. Swift Treadwheel Engine Mark IV. Yeah, sure. Pipe Cleaner? Sword of Seven Sorrows. This beautiful, unique sword is fashioned from shock-absorbing materials that reduce the strain of blocks and parries. It also includes a cluster of integrated plasteel shards. The Seven Sorrows near the hilt that can wound the blade hand of an attacker upon a successful block. Oh, they get hurt if I block them. I'm good at blocking. Oh, blocking, not parrying. Aluminum though. How much damage does it do? Not much. I wonder if I can get like the appearance of it. That's a lot of fun. Can I change my sword's appearance? Whoa! I can! Whoa! That's not my sword. That's my sword. Ooh. Does it look different? It looks alright. Cooler than what I had. Don't forget to raid that one base. What one base? Dare I make this? It's aluminum. Dare I make this? It has an inventory space. A passenger. I think you could only have one or the other. Carbide scraps. The base you're supposed to keep from falling apart. I suppose I shall go. I'm supposed to only pay their taxes. I'm pretty sure the power thing is just a courtesy. Let's see. I have 700 low-grade lubricants, 700 industrial grade. Yeah, we can make more, I suppose. Just in case. Craft. Let's do 300. You will make 200. Out of silicone, let's make 900. Ooh. Getting a bit low on flower sand. I remember Ven got us a bunch. Let's check our base first. 19 days. 31 days. Plenty. Taxes are due. Oh, it is time. Oh, it is time. Okay. Well, I guess we'll use this one. Did I get rid of the stuff in my inventory? I did. We gotta go pay taxes. And then... But actually, I want to talk to that person still. Gonna go pay taxes. But first, I need... Where the heck? I love that all of the chests are out of the way. Thank you, Ven. But at the same time... I don't know where anything is. I heard you can name them too. I don't know how. Sorry. Where? Stop it! Where's all the fuel? Why am I doing that? Stop swinging your sword. I don't know what's going on. Why it keeps doing that. I'm just gonna click escape instead of pressing the key. Watch it be the last chest I check. Did I use it all up? No way. Are we out? Are we out of fuel? Where the heck? Bruh. Did I use it all up? Oh, I used it all up to fuel our base. Ha 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 ha. Whoops. Alright, I'll just pay. I'll pay it. Okay. First, since we're here, we're gonna go talk to that lady. And then we're gonna go to we're gonna talk to that lady. We're gonna go to a city, pay taxes, check on Grimm's base. Oh no, I need to refuel. Can I no longer refuel while in the air? Do I have? I don't have any on me. I don't have fuel. It's fine. It's okay. There's somewhere here. I see the thing. The little... this thing. See you? Hello?
Hello!
Oh god.
What business do you have with House Talagari?
Oh, I have a reward?
Absolutely. One good turn deserves another.
What? I did that much? I killed that many deserters? Wait, why did it give me... Did he give me money? He gave me money, but that's not a reward. I've only contributed 368. That's not even enough to get the first tier of rewards. Whoa. Are you broken?
Hello! What business do you have with House Talagari?
Huh. Okay. Sure. Tell me about House Talagari.
We are a house of troubadours and mummers.
Troubadour.
We are
What's
poets,
a mummer?
playwrights, dancers, creatives, and innovators of stagecraft and performance technology. House Talagari practices the truest form of meritocracy. For artistic merit earns status and regard from our nobles and commoners alike.
Uh-huh.
Allow me to transport your mind's eye to the unblemished beauty that is the planet of Artesia, A gorgeous vacation spot that rivals Kitane. House Talagari achieves most of its wealth and standing through the creative arts, leaving our homeworld unspoiled by heavy mining or industry.
What about Xanavar? History.
Our stage is set long ago, just after the Butlerian Jihad and the death of the thinking machines. Talagari is recognized as a house miner. At the time, we were known for creating anthems to inspire rulers and their soldiers to grand action. We were the soundscape of victory. We brewed creative art in our minds and hearts over the centuries. From exquisite operas to lowbrow comedy, we ruled the stage and the imagination. Time passes. It is 3684 AG. An ominous meteor enters the stage. It collides with our former homeworld. Thankfully, most of the population was evacuated.
How did your people survive?
Padishah Emperor Hayek Corino II, famed for his appreciation of the arts over politics and warfare, awarded House Talagari with 9 fief planets. Perhaps this was due to appreciation for the opera composed in his honor. In any case, we were promoted to the status of a house major.
This has nothing to do with Xanavar. Quite the reward for creative pursuits.
All it takes are leaders who give the proper appreciation to such fare.
Nothing to do with Xanavar.
My name, which tastes like sweet applause. Aha! By our so potent art, we can an audience is an audience, and all the I am ever repeat just the earth salt that require. I have certain discreet trifle. Do you not listen to 5 Nights at Carthage? Wonderful show. There is a character based upon Zoe, whom I adore, and now I shall meet the real thing.
Okay. That had nothing to do with Xanavar. Is she trying to throw us off? We're going back to Hargo and asking her again. Maybe I misheard. Was it Talagar? Oh, pressing all the wrong buttons. Talagari is... What? Was it someone else? Was it someone else? Kill sandflies. For House Vernius. Jeez. Harkonnen is not playing at all. Go ask the House of Jesters. She's so mean. She's so mean. She was really like, I don't care. Go talk to this person. Let's go check on Grimspace. It's right here anyway. I can yoink one of their yoink one of their fuel thingies. I'm like really low on fuel. We might not even make it. As long as we're gliding, we're not using fuel at least. I don't know where their base is. This way, I think. There it is. Isn't lit up from the outside at all. Uh-oh. I think the power's down. And then there's a storm coming. The power is out, indeed. Flies. Oh, I'm stuck. I'm stuck. You guys. They don't have any. Don't have any fuel cells. You're joking. How about over here? Oh my god. I gotta go message Grim, be like, wait. Let me just take a screenshot of this. And send it to... Where are you? Wait, I need to, like, write down that this is their base and not mine. Okay. I'm gonna... Do they have anything? Of course not. Of course not. Why would they? Why would these bozos ever have anything? $123. That will have to do, hopefully. Still? Okay. 4 hours. They have 4 hours of defense against the storm. Not that it's... Whoa! I mean, it's not that bad. Screenshot that again. Not too damaged, at least. Alright. I'm just providing proof, you know? Providing proof. And also... collecting my... my... You guys are running low. Collect... You have this much left. And then I'm letting your base rot. You refueled it to 9 days just last week, didn't you? I did. There's something... Oh, shoot. I don't have fuel. There's something about the game. I think when the storm comes... It like does more or takes more power to fuel it. I don't know. I have to get fuel cells for myself. I can make it here, at least. I don't know if they'll have power to even make that. If they gave me access to their buggy, I could get more. But I don't know whose buggy this is. I can't even see. Let me request access. Give me access to this buggy so I can get fuel cells in this area. Please. It would make it easier for me. Is it back yet? No, it's not back. I don't want to use my... There's a cat in the kitchen being naughty. I don't want to use my ship because I'm out of fuel. I needed 80, right? 80 fuel cells? That was 3. This is 6. Has it been? It hasn't been 9 days. No way. Okay. Plenty. Jeez. 123 fuel cells was enough to fuel it for...
Thanks for your support.
That scared me.
Miswa dropped a sub.
Miswa, hello! Hi, how are you? 123 fuel cells was enough for 4 hours. Man. These silly boys. I just need one. I just need one. I'll use the rest for that. Need this. Ah! I do have to come back, right? I'll come back. I'll come back. I will come back. Because our base is fine. For 31 days. Maybe I can get something here? Working in office? Aww. Maybe I can get something here. Let me refuel too. See my fuel? I was really low. My signal has been, aww. Hopefully you can come home soon.
Someone's here.
There has to be fuel cells here. I'll clear this. I will clear this and then...
There's someone here.
Who's that?
It's Ellie. I'm coming for you first. Die! Crazy that their shield goes away when I get them down like that. Atreides won. Of course they did. The Harkonnens aren't even doing anything. Alright, this one has something? No. This one has something? Scary. Seven. That's 7. I shouldn't be looting everything. I say as I loot everything. I just need fuel cells. My ship doesn't have...
I need reinforcements!
Okay. One at a time, please. What the heck? Stop it! If I stand here, will you have to shoot? Oh, no, because they can hit me. Oh god. Okay. I missed! I missed again! Wait. 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 I used a big one. I used a big heal. Let's go up here. Alright, come on. No, don't use a rocket. Ah! Okay. Any fuel here? This. I didn't know that explodes. How come there's always a lot of fuel cells? These little machines that I can loot with a bunch of fuel cells. But the one time I need fuel cells, there's none. Let's heal using your small bandages. That! There's none. It hates me. It actually hates me. This is not the kind of fuel cells I needed. I need this though for myself. I may as well. One. Hi, Evan. How are you doing? Oh my god, I have hiccups. I had a dream. Okay, listen, my dreams have been a little weird. But my dream was like someone had invented the cure to hiccups. They were like, hiccups no more. Where is the way out? And people were like talking about how this would affect the economy. I think there would actually be people sad about that. The cure to hiccups? They're like, oh, we've invented the cure to hiccups. How will this affect the US economy? And I was like, I don't know. Fascinating though. Yeah, cool. Getting rid of sneezes? How would getting rid of sneezes affect the US economy? Yeah. My dreams, man. Who knows? Now I'm trying to like compare it to the other cure to blah 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 that I've seen, and I'm trying to wonder like, did I dream that up or is it legit? Because okay, I don't know if this was a dream or if I read it, but read it in passing. But did Trump say that we've invented the cure to autism? Or was it Japan? I think Japan had something to do with Down syndrome. I'm not sure, but in my dream, it was the cure to hiccups. And I was like, huh. The amount of revenue generated by VTuber sneeze compilations. Isn't there a person out there who makes that? And they like clip every single VTuber's sneezes? He said that paracetamol causes autism or something. How long until ibuprofen Trumprofen hits the shelves? Man. Okay, we have to go to... That's not it. This is it. Ma'am, I have a bone to pick with you.
Not now. I am otherwise engaged.
It's gone!
You forget yourself, plebeian. It is for I. Withdraw from my presence.
Okay. She has the new outfit too. I'd like to pay my taxes. Holy baloney. Alright. Okay. Pay. Done. Done. And the rest of the money is mine. Do I need to pay my dues? I got it. But, I mean, some contribution would help. You missed the thing, the Lost Harvest
Welcome.
quest. I
Would
feel
you
like
like to
would have
deposit,
enjoyed it.
or with how much Solaris would you like to?
And Ellie gets richer. When will we get a game where the NPCs change clothes daily? Fields of Mystria has NPCs that change clothes seasonally. So like for the summer, they have summer outfits and summer art. When you talk to them, so their pixels have like I think some, and then when they go to the beach, they have their swimsuit outfits on. Yeah, Fields of Mystria. You should give it a try. Same-ish with Stardew. I don't know if it translated well, but I made a face at the mention of Stardew. I made a face. I was like, no, it doesn't translate well. Okay, we're gonna go to our base, get all the stuff that I built there, and then hopefully it's enough for Casey's base, Scrim's base. Oh my goodness. Errands. Today is just an errand day. And then tomorrow we're playing Death Stranding. Or should we play Little Witch? Lose so much altitude when you do it like that. I've been in the mood to write. Also, I've been looking for like laptops. I have bricked every single laptop I have ever owned. Something always goes wrong with it. It dies like... Me and laptops do not mix well. But I have been looking for a laptop lately to buy. And whenever we go to the store, all of the laptops there, all of the new ones, they're like AI stuff. They have like AI built in already. Like they have like I'm trying to like phrase it properly, but they have a button on the keyboard specifically for their AI, and I'm just like, huh? I accidentally got rid of this. Where's the stones? I don't know, whatever. I'll just put that there. I'll put that there too. Roll a d20 and choose even or odd. One of them literally exploded. Oh, yeah. So it was like a brand new laptop. And I was playing Guild Wars 2. I was in World v World, and I was watching. I don't remember what I was doing, but I was sneaking around in World v World as a little solo, and it just blew up. Not like flames and fire and all that scary stuff. Not like that, no. But it's it was like, hold on, I will put this in my I'm gonna move my assault over here because I'm gonna need that to transport. The power. Okay, so my lights flickered, and I heard like a click or like a sound, and I knew something ignited. Oh, my wings are repaired. Nice. Something ignited, and then I smelled like scorch, but not like regular fire scorch. It was more metallic, and I was like, uh-oh. And then my laptop, I don't know if it turned off. I think it was still on. But the part where you plug in the power thingy to the laptop, that part was definitely where the smoke or the scent was coming from. There was no smoke. And then it had like a burn mark. And I was like, well, it's still on. So technically it still works. So I went to a safe spot so I'm not just there out in the open. And I was like trying to figure it out, like what happened. I think the fire alarm did go off even though there was no visible smoke. And then it was like the kind of laptop where you can like still screw stuff off. So like I unscrewed it and it was burnt. It was dead. So I have destroyed all of my laptops, but I am hoping that my next one, hopefully these next ones are not next ones, the current state of laptops this day are more resilient. I have bricked, wait, 1 2 3 4, I think that's, wait, no, there's 1 2 2 4 4. I don't have enough. Is it not done? Apparently that's going to be all computer tech moving forward. Yeah, so the ones that I saw, it was like all like the keyboard, they had a special button on the keyboard where it'll bring up the built-in AI. I think it's called Copilot. Not Gemini. Gemini is Google's thing, but it's like a button that brings it up, and it's just there on the keyboard, like how the Windows key is there, but it's on like the other side. And everything we do on our computers will be monitored and collected to train the AI. I hope not. I hope not. But yeah, apparently, I think like all of the computers that I looked at had it. Unfortunately, I bought a laptop. It was cute, it was blue, and then Ven showed me that there was a pink version, and I immediately didn't want it anymore, and I wanted the pink version. But then, when I tried to like install Discord onto it, I noticed that it was like lagging and slow, and I was like, what's wrong with this thing? And then Ven told me that the thing is like ARM based, and I was like, what is that? There's more than one, like I thought it was what? So I hated it after that. 3 4 more. This one. That one. Nothing is safe. 1 2 1 2. Okay, that should be good. Maybe a little bit more of the regular thing. Maybe not. I don't know. 1 2 3. Jeez, this takes forever. Good enough. I think this is plenty. should be enough to fuel their base. Right? Right. All the way to the sky. Then, if you're still there, our flower sand reserves are at the 66k mark, which isn't bad. I think you farmed 1 million though? Did you? I don't recall how much you farmed, but we are at the 66k mark, I think. Does a sand crawler work for flower sand? 100k. Okay, not too bad then. I was like, damn, we use so much. Does a sand crawler count for sandflower? If so, now I'm tempted to farm 1 million. You may go ahead and craft a sand crawler. Or is it a carrier first? We need a carrier first. I need a space. We need space in the base to house that because it can't be put away. The assaults can't be put away too. I wonder if the crawler can be put away because the buggy can't be put away. So feels so heavy. Shouldn't the base be like right there? Why don't I see it? Ah, there it is. These guys. Need to come to their rescue. All right. So, whoa! I'm gonna put the stuff away here. Oh. Assault. I'll leave this here. I'm not looting! I'm not looting, I swear. I'm doing the opposite, actually. Maybe you need to start demanding twice the payment and speed up their downfall. Alright, 4 hours, right? 4 hours. No more. Refuel. 18 days. Lovely. That was plenty. I'm gonna screenshot this. Send this here. 18 days. I'm gonna... Should I demand extra payment for the thing? Because it's... it was 10 days. I usually... The agreement was 10 days only. 10 days of fuel. Or, like, power. I must not fear. Fear is the mind killer. Fear is the little death that brings total obliteration. This is the litany of fear. I will face my fear. I will permit it to pass over me and through me. And when it has gone past, I will turn the inner eye to see its path. Where the fear has gone, there will be nothing. Only I will remain. That's this. Why? Why, then? Shall I take more? I won't. Ven is a bully. Ven is the little death. I think that's it, right? That's it, right? How to undo time out. 600 seconds? Bruh. How to undo, I don't know. Done. And then, that's it. That's all I needed to do, right? They have enough. They have plenty. And then, is this thing on? Where is it? They had like a bunch of little ones. And I was like, why do you need that? Right here? These are on. Spam? No. It's a it's the litany. It's the litany of fear. It's the thing that litany against fear. It's the thing that Jessica says in the thing. It went here. I don't think they need this. I don't think they need this, but it's fine, whatever. They can keep it. Bring them back. Yeah, Ajaku fixed it. Sorry about that. Wolf Warrior, come back. I'm sorry. That's all. I have deposited everything. I don't want to leave any of their stuff on, just in case. And then... I gave the screenshot already. Okay. I have proof. I have given proof that I did pay their taxes and fueled up their base. I should check on the other one then, huh? The other one? The other base? Everything's moving, everything's dandy. Let's go this way. Jeebus. It's so slow moving. It's so heavy. I'm gonna check the base at the anvil. That one has been severely neglected. When I went to check, the walls were like crumbling. They weren't completely gone, but it was very close to being gone. Maybe like a few more days and it would have started deteriorating and disappearing completely. I think for that one it only had the small fuel, so it just needs fuel cells. Let's go refuel. If you were given the opportunity to buy a house in Japan, would you? Because I think that's what my family's talking about right now. Coriolis Storm buildup is in 3 hours? Buildup. What? Oh, it's Monday. The storm is tomorrow. Well, it's a good thing I'm not playing tomorrow. I still want to know. Was she just trolling us? Was Lady Fenring, was Margot Fenring just trolling us? There is a house that talks about it, I swear. Maybe I'm I'd love to live in Japan, but I wouldn't want to work there. I don't like their work culture, but I would also like to live there. I think they have, they allow like work overseas work. I don't think I need this. I need this one. I don't have plenty. Let's go get some more. I think a lot of the houses that are for sale for foreigners though are like usually pretty far away with like very little amenities nearby, right? And usually you have to like fix it up. 1K is enough. $1K is more than enough. You have to like do repairs, and then sometimes the nearest station is an hour away. I wonder if there's like a good one. Exit. How do I exit? Exit. There we go. Give me this. Oh shoot. Oh, maybe I should get more. Have to live in the middle of nowhere. I mean, you get to... Yeah. Would they have like high-speed internet at least so you can work from home? Let's do 2 more. Because that entire base is fully powered by these little guys. I can't reach. I've been in a writing mood. That's why I wanted a laptop. Because when I'm on my computer, I do anything but write. Like, I've also been in the mood to draw lately. Neighbor's base is open. And I was like, if I do draw, I'm pretty sure I will not be writing. Because that's just how it works. Where is your... Where is... Is it here? Did you protect it? Ooh. The state of their base is deteriorating. I just don't know where their subwave console is. Likely down here in the ground. Protected. You'll also need an office? An office? For why? To work from home? Oh, me? Me? To write? So when I'm sitting here on my computer, I'm just like, I could be playing a video game right now. I could be cooking, I could be cleaning, I could be blah 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 blah. And I was like, okay, I want to write, but I want to be comfortable, and I don't want to be seated. I want to be lounged, reclined. Why did that one only give me 750? Previous ones gave me like 1,000 in one go. An office with a mini fridge, a projector, a tablet station, a beanbag, starlights embedded in the ceiling. Yeah, you're right. I do need all those things. I think at the beginning of the year, I was like, 2025 is the year that I write my book. I'm gonna write a book, and I'm gonna publish it. Oh boy, I haven't written a single word. Humble needs. Ben's losing his mind. Humble needs for humble Ellie. Indeed. I need a $1,000 laptop. I don't know what it is. The most I've ever written was when I was doing college. And I would not... Okay, sorry. We're good. We're fine. I would literally do anything else other than schoolwork. In high school, too. Get me out of here. How do I... Give me access to the inventory, please. This should be more than enough, right? Oops. This should be... Maybe one more. Maybe a little bit. When I would like write a lot, it would be like in between classes at the school library, or like, I don't know, just not having access to video games. That's what I need. Just uninstall everything from this computer. Uninstall all my games, and then I'll be forced to do only writing. East this way. My brain also defaults to doing anything except what I'm supposed to do. Yeah, it's hard. And then, when we were doing that walk, and when we were touring that mansion, it was like, huh, I could be writing right now. I remember sitting in the Japanese garden too, and I was like, all these ideas firing in my brain, and I'm just like, why can't it be like this when I'm in front of a computer? Why can't it be like this when I have the means to write? I think the solution would be to have a laptop, right? And then when I get that urge to write, while I'm out and about, I will have my laptop. This is not where I need to be. And then I'll just sit down somewhere, open the laptop, and start writing, right? But I also have an iPad, so what's stopping me from doing that with my iPad? Oops, wrong button. And then a part of me is like, I don't need the laptop to write. I can just write on my phone. Why don't I write on my phone? Was my apartment spotless the day before exam? Sometimes you want to do anything but. And you have to like trick your brain to doing the thing that it doesn't want. That's not our base. To doing the thing that you've been putting off, so that you so that you can do. Spaghetti-o. I need to park down here because This is where the chests are closest to. Oh my god, we don't even have a big chest. That's plenty, right? Are we full? days. 20 days, and then let's see if it took damage. Just a little bit. And we don't have any granite to repair. Haha. Haha. Histoire. Histoire de base. Stress cleaning is the only time that that I will clean, unfortunately. If my place is too dirty, sometimes I'll like, Mom, you wanna come visit? And then that's when I'll clean. Oh, I can just use this. I'll have to log on today now that I'm finally not traveling. I mean, I've already, I already did it. So, you're fine. Don't worry, it's me. I'll take care of it. But after this, you should definitely... Wasn't there a ramp here? Wasn't there a ramp? Because then how... Did it break? Did it get destroyed? I can only use granite. Come on. Come on. I remember the door was blocked too, wasn't it? I think it broke. I think the ramp got destroyed. I'm gonna repair the exterior. This steel cobalt paste calibrated, sir. Okay, when you get on, or if you get on, you can go ahead and fix this place up. I don't know, are we gonna have, do we even need this though? We're gonna have new people play? Using up all the granite that I got. Why was this damaged? What? Maybe someday we will have the Starlight Air Forces. Yeah. I would like to see that one day. Am I hopeful about it? Not really. But that would be nice, yes. We got everything? Got everything. Ooh, something. Oh. So the outside stairs go first. What's that? What's that? Okay. Oh, I thought this was gone. Okay, Miswa, I have repaired the exterior. If you do decide to get on, this needs fixing, and that needs fixing. Everything else should be fine. Oh. He's trying to like use up all my granite. I don't know if this thing took any damage. I think it's fine. What was I gonna do? I was gonna get on the buggy. Let's get on the buggy and get some granite, but I don't think I need to. What was I talking about before this? I want to write a book. And I don't know. I think I want to get a laptop. But the laptops nowadays all have AI integrated into it. I mean, I suppose you don't have to use it, but the fact that it's there and built in. I think the one that didn't, was like a MacBook. And I don't know if I want to have to learn how to use a MacBook. Why did that sound so close? Excuse me, sir. Go away. Okay. Deposited everything. So the next time we come in here, we should have plenty of fuel cells, I think. Let's see. Yeah, we'll have plenty of fuel cells to keep this base up and functional. 20 days of power, no water, unfortunately. Taxes paid, everything's paid, all our bases are properly maintained. I think that's it. That's all, folks. I don't need to come back for another 20 days. And then we're free. So we finished the DLC. I don't want to make the... I personally don't want to make the vehicle. Can I glide up here? We still need to make the carrier and then the sand crawler. I think Ven wants to fill up all of our chests with sand again. So I suppose we can do some of that. I think the next time I get on, I'll just be farming, so I'm not gonna do that on stream. So next stream, tomorrow's stream, will be Death Stranding. Or should I play Little Witch of the Woods? I don't know. Maybe I should play Little Witch of the Woods off stream. Do we like cozy farming games? I want to say yes. I think I streamed a lot of cozy farming games in the past. I don't really understand what is the point of the new vehicle. I don't know either. Should we go into the deep desert and see if anybody is using it? Then again, I rarely see anybody in the deep desert. You want to see what? Ah, the witch game. I see. Okay. I will stream it then. Maybe. Tomorrow? Or should I do Dune? Not Dune. Should I do Death Stranding tomorrow? I don't know how close I am to finishing. Maybe I should finish Death Stranding first. And then do Little Witch. The Witch game. Ah! I want to see Death Stranding 2. Stream them both simultaneously. Well, didn't I do a stream once where I played... What is it called? I played... What is it? Animal Crossing. While drawing. It was like a drawing stream and an Animal Crossing stream at the same time. We need more silicone blocks. Alright, so these are going. And then what? How much water do we have? Oh, look here. Okay, we'll do Death Stranding, I'll finish it. And then we'll play Little Witch. Unless we do... we play Little Witch on Wednesdays. Monday and Tuesday will be Death Stranding. And then Wednesdays will be Little Witch. Maybe? This would be so much easier if I streamed Monday to Friday. But I want to reserve time to write. It's difficult. I almost have 1 million. What do I need? That was like one goal of mine, to have 1 million water. Silicone blocks and duralinium. For duralinium, I think I need to go to... I need to get jasmium. Oh, I do need to go there anyway. Another time. I need jasmium. Woo! Dare I go do some farming? Or should I end early? I have all this stuff on me. I don't need these, right? Right. Am I full? Okay. Yeah, I think I will end here. We have finished all the content for Dune. All the new content, at least. The next one comes out... Who knows? Maybe December. You have to get permission from the upper management to end early. Alright, Jaku, formal request. May I end early? May I end early? Let's see. Oops. What? Ah! Everything's going wrong. Okay. Ah. Manager. Then... Does this have to be a joint decision?
Sector weather alert. A large sandstorm is approaching.
A sandstorm! Let me prepare then. Split. Where should I put this? And then I will need... Ven is my superior? Oh my goodness. I will need... What's going on, Lunchover? Requesting permission to end stream early. Jackie says I need upper management permission.
Sector weather alert. A large sandstorm.
Please tell me that was
approaching.
repair. I did repair, right? I didn't get rid of it. Okay. do what you like to do. I'm preparing myself to go farm jasmium so we can make more duralinium. I don't need I don't need all these heavy darts. I don't need all these light darts. I also don't need Why am I still so heavy? The streamer is more powerful. Why am I still so heavy? How do you guys do this? How do you strip down and just go? Oh, the storm is taking forever. We'll do one jasmium run, okay? Okay? And then I'll get off, okay? Scary jasmium runs. I would like to play a cozy game, a cozy management sim game. Is that a game to stream? Is that worth streaming? Is that worth it? I think the last management game sim I streamed. Wait, did I stream Spice Wars? Which one? I have no idea. There I want to buy one and then stream it maybe. Ooh, this person's base is Borkin. Oh, I don't have many things, so I can't even tell. Where's their stuff? Oh, it's right here. It's out in the open. If this gets destroyed, those will be open. Damn. Unfortunate. Whoever's base this is. Looks like it's been, abandoned for a while now. That's a person. What are they doing there? Treasure hunting? I don't recall if I've streamed Spice Wars. I think I did for Daku. But I remember that stressing me out because I didn't know what was happening. A worm. I don't recall. It was another Dune game, and I remember losing my ornithopters a lot and being very sad about it. Alright, here we go. Following a worm. Please be nice. Please be kind to me. Kai Hulud. 500 is high enough. I can't take the iodine pill in the sky. Is there one here? This looks like it has stuff. People have bases all the way out here. That's wild to me. That doesn't have anything. Why would you want to live here? Like, that looks like it's maintained and everything too. I think that's 3. Yep. Take iodine pill. This one is horrible. Ow. Ignore my skills. Can I drop this? Escape, escape, escape. Don't need that. This way. I can't see! Lovely green goop. Yep. Just sitting in some soup. Rad soup. Someone built a base like right here. At least they're not covering up the thing. Is this for the storm? Does this count as sheltered? So that you can... It counts as sheltered. Wow. So you can mine even if there's a storm. That's nice of them. This one's a lot, too. Like holes, though. I wonder... I wonder if some broke. But it looks maintained. So considerate. How lovely. Fallout 76 kind of felt like this, where I wasn't paying attention. Vehicle, sure. Hopefully it doesn't kill me twice. I wasn't paying attention. Where it felt like there wasn't anybody there until a map event happened. Do you get more? Does it build up more if you're in the water and I was just standing there like a dummy? Oh my goodness, it's building up a lot even with the pill. Let me get out of here. I wasn't paying attention to my bar. Alright, let's find a spot. Oh, we're very far. Like right here, maybe? Get out of the radiation real quick. I don't know if it needs to reset. It's a lot slower now. It's not as much as before. That was hilarious. I wasn't even looking at the bar. I thought I had plenty of time still. Yeah, let's get rid of it. Cheapest. That's 2 worms. Alright. Gone. Okay. Now we're gonna go back. So many worms here. We have plenty of space for more too. I think they increased the like how much storage this thing has. So why does it have to be so loud? I wonder if there's a map, like a server out there that is mostly Harkonnen. The only events in this game that pull people together are the spice explosions. It's not really even a event though. It's just a thing that happens. And in that case, if you want spice, you go to the deep desert for that. Because spice blooms, there's bigger ones in the deep desert. It's just that there are other people there too. And the bigger ones are in the PvP zones. Yeah, there was like a event recently where there was a bunch of things falling from the sky. I think it broke the worms too. Oh, I wasn't paying attention to my thing again. Oh, this is a big one. Is this one? Things would fall from the sky, but even that, nobody was really doing them. It was just me. Maybe it's my server. They did have like a lot of servers.
Malcolm, can you hear me? Come back. The radiation level is too high for this basic gear. You won't even get near one of the wrecks before you drop. The whole area is crawling with Great Host troops and radiation gear anyway. Turn back while you can. I'm not going to make it.
Not going to make it. I'm lost. Uh-oh. I'm lost. I'm lost. The panic is setting in. I'm full, There's plenty of time though, right? There's plenty of time, right? And plenty of space. And even if I die here, I can just respawn at my ship. That was new. I didn't hear that one before. Just don't stand in the water. Smile. You would think that's basic. A pop. I would open that chest, but I'm quite full. Is there more? There's more. I'm full. This is the way. Hello? Can you get out? Can you go out? Reset. Can you go out and reset? But where? East. And then hopefully that guy's base has been resetted as well. Am I out? Jeepus, this takes forever. Ooh. The base was like over there-ish. Go. Back into the radiation. Not too bad. I still have my pill active. I feel really close to the ground, but it's like 300 something. Thanks for the lurk, Cam. Hope you're having a good day. This thing doesn't look like it's back yet. Nope. We go elsewhere. Might need to like get out and oh, there's 3 right here. Wait, let me press that button real quick. There we go. Take a new pill, even though I'm almost done here. Is it really fast if I'm in the water? Come on, please. Yee! This is a lot of jasmine. I'm just wondering, like, if you had a buggy out here. Really need to build that carrier. You can carry so much more in an assault now. Please. The game is not completed until you have the carrier and the stern crawler. Ooh, Spice Boom. But yeah, they need more things to do. They need like jumping puzzles that you can do daily. Follow in the footsteps of Guild Wars 2. I think they have more players too. I'm not asking for dailies. That is the opposite of what I want. until I reset. We're closer to going west. Ascend! Ben saw my flying and he was like, "You fly weird." There's like this island, but it's not in the radiation, so there's no jasmine growing here. Harkening camp. Oh, he was right there. He didn't see me. Whoa. Yeah. Apparently I don't have the right timing or something. Like I boost at the wrong time. I'm just like, whatever. Whatever, dude. I'll figure it out. I'll have him teach me. It's never too late to learn, I think. Especially when you're the pilot. Where? I need my ship closer. Oh, there's one up here. Jeez. Farming takes so long now that you have more inventory space. We're about halfway. Can you land? Swing. Go down. Basalt. They added some stuff, like that one recording. I swear I've been there before, but that was the first time I saw it. Ugh, this one's a big one too. I see him. Someone here? You gotta have some more lore-friendly co-op events for cosmetics and maps. It would be nice. I feel like they need more cosmetics in general. Cause I know like one of the complaints about PvP is that everyone looks the same. So it's hard to tell your team apart. From other players, and you have to like really coordinate with them in VC, and everybody's colors are the same too, so it's like unless you're doing the Lancer ad, you don't have a lot of color choices, you know? But yeah, they do need more. And I think a lot of the cosmetics that came out is part of the DLC. So, like, you really can't differentiate unless your teammates are also buying the DLC. Personally, I don't PvP, so I don't care. Whoa. Right. gonna grab the rest of that because I don't have the space. Need this? Give me. Okay, neighbor. I hear you. Wow, that one blended in with the wall. I almost didn't notice it. I'm full. I think this one's the way out. See, I'm not getting as much radiation as I was earlier. I think it really is standing in that water that increases it, even if you have the suit on. Almost full. Almost full, almost full. We can do this. Ah! Almost full, almost full. Next one, we go... Is that an island or a ship? Looks like an island. Ooh, right here. Usually there's like 3 right here. 3 nodes. Yep, I see them. It's in the water though. Do you remember the last book you read? How long ago was it? And did you enjoy it? How long did it take you? I'm really wondering, like, was this just a one-time thing? Am I not gonna pick up another book ever again? And I was just like, that was just something that happened once, one and done. Because I do want to read more, but I'm wondering if I'll have the patience for it still. I also have this habit where I want more, and if there's already a series of it out, then all the better. Otherwise, that I like think about it for a really long time, and then I won't be able to get into a new story because I'm still thinking about the lore and the world building and the characters of the previous one. Now I'm just like, when does the next book come out? Go west and reset, because that's looking dangerously full. Don't want to accidentally die. We know better now. There we go. I'll just hover out here for a little bit. Last time I managed to read an entire book was 18 years ago. A lifetime ago. That's an entire lifetime ago. Oh my goodness, it's taking so long for this to deplete. Are we out of our iodine pill? Back in. At least it depletes really fast, even though that one took forever. Oh, lovely. Here. I think I'm gonna make a stronger suit. What if I did that? What if I wrote a fanfic? And published it as an original. You know, if 50 Shades can do it, if that book that I just read can do it, so can I. I think I'm too in love with my own characters to use someone else's characters, though. Unfortunately. Then again, I need to rewrite that fanfic that I wrote. I'm not satisfied with it, with how I went about things. Where's my ship? Where did I leave my ship? Ah, that's not my ship! Please, I don't have a weapon. Oh, we're pretty much full. Now let's fill our pockets, and then we're done. Are the overseers pleased? I worked my full 3 hours. Will my rations not be docked? Will I get full rations for today? Lisa, can I have some more? I have that same book next to my bed for reread, and I've gone through like 100 pages in the last 3 years. Huh. I wanted to reread Twilight again. I got in the mood of rereading. I was like, I wonder if it's as I remember it. I really want... Okay, so there's some books that I really enjoy, but then... Where's my ship? That's not my ship. But then, like, it's a series, and whenever the next part comes out, I've already forgotten what happens, you know? So... I kind of... There's this other thing where, like... You know when you enjoy something so much, you're like, I wish I could wipe this from my memory so that I can experience it for the first time again? Right? Like that? I kind of want to do that, but like wait long enough for me to forget. Because if I wait long enough and forget what happens, it'll feel like I'm reading it for the first time again, right? Right? And it made me wonder, like, have I done that with books? Just let the brain rot do its thing? I don't know. My brain's always rotting, so... I mean... What is that? What is that? There's been a lot of new ships in the sky lately, too.
Sector weather alert. A large sandstorm is approaching.
Where? Oh, Coriolis storm is approaching. Got it. Hey, that means no storms until then. Safety, that's the best time to go jasmium farming, I realize. Because you don't have to worry about the storm messing up your ships. Is it the wind making my ship go like this, or is my A button being weird? Keyboard, obey. Why isn't it turning? So odd. Yes, worm, I see you. Chai Hulud. I wonder what the worms think of that. The first time I saw that, I was like, what to heck? What to heck? I wonder how it died. Thank you for the hydrate. One sec. I'm flying one-handed. Ah. Thank you. You must hydrate with me. This is why I read fanfics. Funny you mentioned that. Funny you mentioned that. Recap, shall we? Shall we recap? We went to the bookstore. I don't buy books anymore because my bookshelf is full of books I've yet to read. I'm very easily attracted to very pretty covers. I judge a book by its cover. So I picked up the first pretty cover book that I found, and then went home and got the EPUB, read it, and a few chapters in, I was like, I found one. A few chapters in, I was like, these characters feel familiar. So I looked it up, and it was a fanfic. It was originally published as a fanfic. And
my friend,
they changed.
Shehbazi is happy to see you again.
They changed some of the they changed the names. They changed the some stuff, but basically it was a fanfic. And I'm just like, people are doing this? And then I remembered 50 Shades of Grey was a Twilight fanfic that got published. So, I guess I also read fanfics. Ran out of fuel again?
My friend, if Shehbazi didn't have bad luck, he wouldn't have any luck at all.
I have got a large fuel cell for you.
1,000 blessings upon your house. When I am redeemed, I will remember all the little people who helped along the way.
That's what you said last time.
And it is doubly true now, my friend.
My friend!
What is it, my friend?
Do you have anything different? Oh, it's all the same stuff. Well... Let me in. You can't enter your vehicle if you're in... Oh no, how terrible. It wasn't bad. The contents may have been bad, but the writing was fine. Smile. It was a disturbing read. Not at all what I expected. Cause the cover looked like a regular, it looked like an ACOTAR cover, and ACOTAR is like romance fantasy, so I thought that's what I was getting into. It was not. I mean, it was, but it was so much worse. I don't even know how to say it. It was something. It was certainly a read. But I read it. I did read it. And yep. I did read it. 500,000 water. Lovely. 61%. See, I want to make another water cistern thing. When are you writing the next big spicy vampire fanfic? This year. This year. I still have a few months left. I can do it. What was it called? I don't want to say it on stream. I don't want to say it on stream, but I don't know. Do you read fanfics Have you read Harry Potter fanfics? Because it was a Harry Potter fanfic. And I am surprised to learn that that's not the only Harry Potter fanfic to be published. There are other Harry Potter... Actually, I saw this recently, but there's a Harry Potter... What is it called? There's a Harry Potter fanfic that is getting published, and it won a seven-figure dollar movie deal. So they're turning it into a movie. And I was like, what? What? I don't know. It was surprising. It blew my mind. So, yeah, I really gotta get started on mine. I mean, Macy did start out as a Harry Potter OC, so if I were to write her, I think I just need to go get my stuff and then I'll be good. Anyways, guys, crazy things learned today. Oh my gosh, I'm naked. Nobody looked. Was that? I think that's not my outfit. No, this is the right one. Okay. Good things, all good things. All right. We'll continue Death Stranding tomorrow. Maybe Little Witch of the Woods on Wednesday. But we have finished. We've finished chapter 2. We've finished the Lost Harvest DLC. I might craft this off stream and test it out off stream. We'll see. I don't have a use for it because I don't live near the sand. I live all the way up here and I have more uses for the ships. I'll probably have then craft a carrier. I need to fix that. And then yeah. Our stuff for Dune is good for the next 30 days. So yeah, that's it. I did chores. I did all of our taxes. Paid all of our taxes. Paid all repaired the previous base. I couldn't... Oh, did I have repaired rooms? No, that's fine. That's not part of the deal. That's not part of the deal. We made a lot of money. I need to look up Xanavar. What happened in Xanavar? Because Margot Fenring is a meanie and didn't tell us anything useful. She's so mean. She was like, go talk to this house, and I did, and they're like, greetings or whatever. Definitely not helpful. So yeah, I'm gonna look that up after stream. But yeah, I'll see you guys tomorrow. Thanks for hanging out with me. I hope you had fun. I love you. Take care of yourselves. Drink water, stretch, see the sun if you can. If it's too sunny, at least get some fresh air. There's some sunlight out for me still. That's it. Yes, that's it. You, sun, you need the sun. I don't know what it is. Do I need the sun if my bones are sore? If my bones hurt to press, do I need sunlight or do I need milk? Ven is convinced that I don't drink enough milk. I hate drinking milk. But the sun needs me. I have a... Oh, I can't really post that either. I have a video of myself getting blinded by the sun. I was like recording just something for my Snapchat, and then suddenly the sun came out and I was like I'm sorry. Okay, time to go. Goodbye. Bye bye. I'll see you tomorrow.